Smart response, setting up your teacher tools. First, you need to locate your teacher tools. If you go to the Start button and you go to All Programs, and then you should go to Smart Technologies, Smart Tools, and then you'll go down to Response Teacher Tools. If you click on that, your teacher tools will open up. This is one way of getting into your teacher tools. The other way of getting into your teacher tools would be to go down to your taskbar, and on the lower right you see this gold icon right here. If you right click on it, your teacher tools will open up. You can select your teacher tools, and that too will get you into your gradebook. So there's two ways of accessing your teacher tools. Once you get into your teacher tools, you're going to need to set up your gradebook. So you could go and type in your name, and then your school name and your district name is optional. Your classroom name is what's going to show up on your clickers. So if you would like to have your name show up on your clickers for your students to log in, you might want to name your classroom name as your last name. And I'm seeing that it only lets me have it be so many, eight characters there. So, and then once you have your classroom name, you can click Save. Now, I save my teacher tools to my district website on the server. That way, if anything happens, you still have it saved on the server. Sometimes teachers save it to the desktop, but if something were to happen to your computer, then you're going to lose it. So I would suggest that you save it to your district folder. Once you have it saved, then this is what is going to show up every time when you go into your teacher tools. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is to set up a class. So you can go to Gradebook and you're going to go to Add a Class, and you're going to label your class name. Now for me, teaching in the middle school, I label my class names by the class periods that I have, the hours, and then you could also do it with the subject. So I'm going to call this one Algebra Hour 1. Your location, it doesn't matter. Your passing rate, now this is what you're going to want to set up to see your passing rate when you give an assessment with the clickers. The default is always 50%. You can leave it at 50%. If you wanted to do your passing rate at, let's say, 70%, you can change it. Any students who score less than that percentage will show up in red when you're going through and looking at your gradebook. Then when you're done, you can click Add. Now you can set up as many classes as you want here, so I just have one class set up. Once your class is set up, then you're going to want to add students to your class. So if I click on Algebra Hour 1, I'm going to want to add students to my class. Now, before you do this, it's important to export your student names from your gradebook. So I'm going to go into my Skyward gradebook here. Now what you're going to want to do is to run a report to get your students' names and their student IDs out of it. So I'm going to go down to class roster, and now I'm going to do the first name and last name, middle initial, and student ID, and I'm going to export it to Excel. Okay, once you have it in Excel, then you can get rid of those first couple of rows. So I'm going to delete them, and then I'm going to insert a file here. What I'm going to want to do is take my student IDs, and I'm going to cut and I'm going to paste them to the first column here. So you should have your student ID first, and then it's important to label this ID number. The clickers then, your response file, your teacher tools are going to recognize this when it goes to import your students into your classes. So you want your first column to be student ID number, and then you are going to want to split the column name for the first, middle, and last name. So if we go to highlight it, we're going to go up to the top and we're going to click Data, and then we're going to go to Text to Columns, and we are going to have it be delimited, and we are going to get rid of the, we're going to do space, just like that. So you have tab and then space. What's going to happen then is your first names will appear in one column, your middle initial in the next, and the last in the next. So then we're going to click next and then finish. Now we have our first names, our middle initial, and our last. You can go ahead then and delete the column for middle initial. So now we have ID number, first name, and last name. Now we want to save this as a CSV file. So when I go to Save As, Excel workbook here, down here I'm going to save as a CVS file, or I'm sorry, CSV file. And then you're just going to click Yes when this comes up. Takes a minute to save here. Alright, so now I'm going to close out of this. If we go back to adding students to our class, I'm going to hit Next, and then you're going to click the comma separated values, the CSV, and Next. And then you're going to find where you just saved that file. And then if you click Open, your student should be imported into your class. So now if I go up here to the Students tab, I see I have all my student ID numbers, their last name, and their first name. Now when students log into your clickers, they are going to log in with their student ID number. If they log in with their student ID number, you'll be able to track their progress and see what each student is doing in your class. They could also choose to log in with an anonymous mode, and then you wouldn't need to have their student ID number. You just wouldn't be able to track it in your gradebook. You could see what they're doing on your smartboard. So once you have your class set up, then you could go through and repeat this a second time or third time, however many times you need to set up more classes. Now, if you have a student who enters your class later on, if you scroll down to the end of this student list and you click on the open space down there, I could go ahead and type in an ID number and their first name and their last name. And then if I click in this email box, it'll automatically enter that student up here. You could also click on a student and click delete if you needed to delete them. So that is how you set up a class. Helpful hints, if you click on a student's name here, if you see in the lower right hand, you can tag a student, and this is helpful if a student has a 504 or an IEP, if they passed their MCAs, didn't pass. Anything that you wanted to flag with that student when you're going through and looking at the gradebook, then